All right, we're gonna move on to my favorite prompt we have on this slate today. If NIL was always a thing in college football, just always a rule that was implemented in college football history, who would make the most money off of compensations or off of, I mean, you name it. You see Bryce Underwood just got doubled, like just what, 7-digit compensation deal that he got for signing with Michigan, and Shadur and Travis, and the whole Colorado program is probably getting $1 million just for wearing the Colorado jersey on their back. So I'm really interested by this. Andrew, you can go first. Who you think? Throw a few names out there who you think would make a lot of money.
Well, Charlie, there's a lot of names to talk about, but I'll go through a few. I was debating between, really, I was really between Johnny Manziel and Reggie Bush for a while.
Yeah,
You could talk about Tim Tebow.
good.
Tavon Austin was an interesting one. You know how electric he was. Even like you can go even more recently, Joe Burrow. You have the Baker Mayfields of the world.
Right.
Who else? Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston. I mean, the list goes on and on of how many electric college football players we've had. But in my personal opinion, I think Johnny Manziel would have made the most money, honestly.
Last
And
second decision.
I did have a last second because Johnny Football, man. I think in that Texas market, how much money is in the state of Texas? I mean, you have Texas A&M and Texas. You kind of see it with their NIL collectors, how much money is truly in the state of Texas. And that's why I was between Reggie Bush as well. I mean, in LA for the Trojans, how much money he would have made in
Right.
Cali would have been unspeakable. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think Johnny Football, how dominant he was too, and how fun he was to watch. I think he would have made the most money.
Yeah, it's so it's just a really, there's so many rabbit holes you can go down thinking about this question. But when I think about it, it's definitely the player that I think would definitely come after 2000 and maybe in the 2010s, just because I think college football really exploded later than I mean, I just think it got, as it's progressed, it's got a lot more popular, and a lot more money has been thrown at it. But like you said, I think Johnny Manziel comes to mind. I was thinking Tim Tebow as well. I was thinking, I mean, I kind of thought of Tavon Austin, but now that I think about it, more as he
He
was
wasn't
playing.
as dominant.
Right.
I
It was
think
more of after he played. Um, people are just, people have seen that that one YouTube highlight
that
tape, and they're,
highlight
yeah,
that one
just
mix. Cam Newton, I forgot to mention him
yeah,
and
Cam
Lamar
Newton.
Jackson. Really, those mobile quarterbacks, dual threat quarterbacks, how fun they were to watch back in the 2010 era. I think they would have made the most money probably,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'll stick with Johnny Football. Cam Newton's an interesting one because there was a lot of speculation around whether he was getting paid under the table at Auburn, and
Yeah, a lot of people don't like Cam Newton just because, like you're mentioning, that scandal that was a target on his back. I mean, best example of that is when he walked into Bryant Denny. They played the take the money and run or whatever. But
but yeah, they
that's
had all
besides
those
the
scam
fact.
T-shirts,
But
scam T-shirts.
yeah, but that's besides the fact. Cam Newton definitely one of the more um, advertised college football players, and he definitely would be up the list for me. I still think it's Johnny Manziel, just because it wasn't. I think it wasn't just Texas A&M fans that were buying 12 jerseys. I think it really was the whole nation, just because of how crazy of a season he had, or as a career he had at Texas A&M. He was just a spectacular football player, and yeah,
I
I
mean,
like
those two
Reggie.
seasons. I mean, he threw for 4,000 over 4,000 yards one year, and then he ran for 1,400
Yeah,
yards.
it was ridiculous.
Insane career.
Yeah. But yeah, I like Reggie Bush as well, like you were saying.
That was an
He's
interesting
an
argument
interesting
too,
one.
just because how controversial he was since he was the one who got caught with all the payments
Hmm.
I'm not completely educated on what type of money he was receiving under the table, but it was enough to get his Heisman Trophy taken from him. Correct, right, Charlie?
Yeah, he has it
And
back now
so
though.
they gave it back to
They
him.
gave it back, I think last year, maybe 2 years
Okay.
ago. But yeah, I
Yeah,
was happy to see him get back.
as they should too, because I mean, what he was doing back then is what everybody's doing now to a
Exactly.
different level, to the
Right.
10th power. So, yeah. Any other players you want to talk
Yeah,
about
I like
for
RG
NIL?
three in that conversation. He was pretty electric as well. Just any of those like 2010s, like Tim T,
Those
like
dual,
those kind of dual threat quarterbacks, like you're saying, they're so new to the game. Lamar Jackson, Mariota, all those names. Like it was not a dual threat quarterback game like it is now. It was more stand in the pocket, try to deliver dimes, like an Andrew Luck football. But yeah, RG3, Cam, Johnny Manziel, all those. I kind of like. I think Bo Jackson, Herschel Walker back in the day were more
ooh,
like.
the
Yeah, I
80s would
mean,
have been interesting.
I don't think they would be my answer. I think they're more. They're well advertised football players as well. They were just well known across the country. Um,
But I
NIL
don't think there's
speaking.
as money like back in
Yeah,
the 80s. I don't think there was as money as there is now,
right,
or even in the 2010s.
right.
So
There
they'd
was
be
not.
if you put them in today's era and how dominant they were. If we could touch on running backs too. I mean, Derrick Henry was pretty dominant. Christian McCaffrey was a different type of running back.
Mark Ingram was
Even
was good at his
well,
time.
at his time too, and even like wide receivers, you had Devontae Smith who
Ooh,
won. How much money he would have got as a wide receiver, and he was just like right before that NIL era,
right.
so he probably could have made a lot of bread, and it'll be interesting to see now as we go into the next year. Like who are some top names going into next year, Charlie? Who will be under? I know we touched on Bryce Underwood for a second as a recruiter, as a
Arch
recruit.
Manning will always get a lot of money just because of his last name. Um, you have to think. You have to think Drew Allen will probably get a lot of money because he's coming back. Uh,
Well, I'm blanking just a tad bit, but looking into the future, I mean,
oh, Jeremiah Smith is going to get a crazy amount of money. Ryan Williams will also get a
Ryan
lot of money.
Williams, Cam Coleman, shout out Auburn. Shout out Auburn
It,
on to
it's just it's
victory.
hard to say. I think
Yeah, Arch Manning. I think Arch Manning and Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams will really be the cover of the NIL earners next year.
yeah, probably. And Arch Manning, he not only just because his last name is Manning, he's also a pretty solid football player. He's proven in the few games that he's come into for Texas. I'm excited to see if Quinn Ewers declared for the draft or he sticks around another year and transfers
Oh
out
yeah,
because
that's another thing to touch on a little bit. How I don't know if it's true. It's just rumors that Quinn Ewers is. There's been a lot of what's the word I'm looking for?
tampering.
Tampering. There we go. For to trying to get him to come back. I remember talking millions of
Oh,
dollars for
100%.
him to stay at
He's
Texas.
one of
So
those quarterbacks where if he's gonna stay, he's gonna get like upwards of $5 to $6 million worth of money from a team that's in need. I think he could be a Georgia kind of guy or um, just somewhere in the SEC that needs him. I mean, Alabama's probably or they are losing Jalen Milroe. I don't think he would go to Alabama, but like that kind of program, I think he could end up at.
yeah, Charlie, to touch on that a little bit too. I mean, with NIL, I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, Charlie, but there's like rumors of like the eligibility rules being expanded to 5 years, and it'll be interesting to see as NIL more money goes into it and players are more eligible to stay longer. How many years of eligibility these players will use? I mean, back in the past with Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, it was a given. Their junior
Right.
year hit, they were gone, but you compare the NIL money to what these players are receiving, though, like freshman year in college, is significantly higher than a rookie deal in the NFL. So it'll be interesting to see how NIL affects how long players stay in college. So that'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, like you said, that is going to be interesting because you got to think that whatever money that Quinn Ewers is getting tampered with, that's got to affect his deal a huge bit. Just because, I mean, that's a lot of money he could be making by not even declaring for the NFL draft and going through all those loops and I mean, just all those things. He could stay another year and put up another. He could put up another mid year, even at best, and like drop his draft stock even more, and he could still get $6 million out of it. And that's just, I think that's a wild thing now in college football is, slowly fading away from the sport that we love. And
It's fading away from amateurism. It's no long. I don't believe it's an amateur sport no anymore.
right.
So it's just towards more professional landscape.
Yeah, if we're talking the prompt we came in here with, I do think it goes to Johnny Manziel. Probably by a sizable margin, just because the impact he had on the game and impact he had across the country. Honestly, I feel like a lot of people are repping that Johnny Football brand, and Reggie Bush probably comes in second. Maybe Cam Newton, Tim Tebow is in the mix. But I just thought that was an interesting thing to think about, just how much money someone would make if it was always a thing. even even though Johnny Manziel was probably making a lot of money under the table or from other stuff.